Hi, it's Sally-Shakti, your visionary writing guide, and welcome to Tarot and Astrology for Visionary Writers from Monday, the 1st of May to Sunday, the 7th of May, 2023. So happy Beltane, Beltane blessings to you if you are here in the Northern Hemisphere, and you will be perhaps celebrating Samhain if you are in the Southern Hemisphere. That's an interesting opposition on the Wheel of the Year that I want to get into. I want to say a little bit about Beltane first. So today, the 1st of May, is the typical and traditional time in the British Isles when May Day, the popular name for Beltane, is celebrated. Marked as the beginning of the real fruition of spring. We had the first day of spring at the spring equinox, but now 6 weeks later, as the Wheel of the Year turns another turn, we have the real blossoming, the fertility. We have the promise of fruition, the promise of fertility. We have the green coming out, the greenery brightening the land around us, and the flowers and the fertility, the promise of fruition. Beltane is a time of great celebration for the coming of the summer and that promise of prosperity, that promise of abundance that comes directly from the earth. Now, Beltane here in the Northern Hemisphere happens during Taurus season, which is also connected with that energy of the abundance of the earth, the fruition and the abundance, the sensuality, the sensory sexuality of the earth in her fruition and in her bounty, the abundance that we all are connected to on a deep, deep soul level, that oftentimes in this world that we are shifting the foundations of, the world of patriarchy, the world of colonialism, the world of capitalism, we have been taught to believe that we are separate from that rich bounty and abundance of the earth. And we have had good reason to believe that. It has been physically, emotionally, mentally imprinted on us, if not energetically and spiritually as well, through our inheritances, through our DNA, through our genetic inheritances, through our cultural inheritances, and through the way that we have been socialized, and those beliefs that we have perpetuated and that have been perpetuated around us. That sense of separation is strong, and it is violent. It has violent roots in every place upon the globe where it has been enacted, which is pretty much everywhere. It only comes about through violence and theft, ultimately, and then through violence to maintain that theft and to keep all of us, everyone, every being alive on this planet separate from that sense of the true bounty and beauty and abundance of who we are and who we are here to be. And that's the celebration of Beltane. It's coming back to that awareness. It's coming back to that connected relationship with the earth and with the earth's abundance. True Beltane is actually happening on Friday the 5th of May. It's absolutely aligned with the Scorpio full moon and the lunar eclipse that is happening at that time on that day. What we have is the opposition. We have the moon at exactly the astrological point of Samhain. So the moon is at 15 degrees of Scorpio. So it's halfway between, the moon will be halfway between, let me think, what's on the opposite side of the Wheel of the Year right now? The moon is going to be halfway between the point of the autumn equinox and the point of the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. And that's where the moon is for all of us. It's at that point, it's at that degree point, the exact degree point of Samhain, 15 degrees of Scorpio. And opposite the moon is the sun at the exact degree point of Beltane, 15 degrees of Taurus. So we have this full moon happening and this eclipse happening on the exact axis of Samhain and Beltane. This is happening on Friday, the 5th of May. I'm giving my timings here for where I am in England, just outside Stonehenge, that great, beautiful, megalithic astrological clock. And that alignment is also the alignment where the veil is the thinnest. You might have heard people speak about this. Both at Samhain and at Beltane, we have a thinning of the veil between the worlds. Our world is more permeable at this time. This is super, super powerful. Think about this. We've got the exact time when the veils are open, and we have an openness, permeability to receive new downloads, new information, new connections from other worlds, particularly at Beltane. The energy, you might feel the energy of nature spirits, you might feel the energy of the Fae, you might feel the energy of the dragons awakening. I'm off to Glastonbury later to go and connect with the dragons up at the tour. You might feel those earth energies at Beltane as the veil between the worlds is thinner, and the Beltane energy invites or welcomes or has the potential to open our channels to a greater and deeper connection with those nature beings, those nature spirits. At Samhain, on the opposite side of the globe and the opposite side of the wheel, the veil is thinner between the worlds of life and death, and between there is more closeness to the ancestors, the loved ones, those who have come before, those who have walked the earth before and who are here also in circle, always all around us to guide and support us. So we may find ourselves more open to intuition. We may find ourselves receiving more downloads and greater wisdom at this time through that opening of the veil. And as I said, this is happening at a super supercharged, powerful time, because not only do we have now the veils opening, the veils becoming thinner, at the same time that's happening, we've got the full moon in Scorpio, which is also a lunar eclipse. This is big, big energy, and it is axis turning, world turning, life changing, life shifting energy. This is what we're working with this week, and for much, much longer than this week. I've been talking about it for a while. I will be talking about it for a while. I want to add into that mix that on Monday, the 1st of May, Pluto goes retrograde. So we now have Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius and going back in towards Capricorn, which will happen throughout the rest of this year. So that is the exact degree point of the Great Conjunction when on the winter solstice of 2020, December 2020, we had Jupiter and Saturn both conjunct at 0 degrees of Aquarius, beginning their next new cycle. So what they have been bringing in over the last 3 years, Pluto is now activating and bringing to the surface what needs to be cleared out, what needs to be excavated, what has been hidden and secret. This also is a strong theme of the Scorpio energy, where we've got the Scorpio full moon and the Scorpio lunar eclipse. It's the energy of bringing up from the shadows what needs to be witnessed and healed and and integrated, released, to enable us to, as I was saying last week, let go of the old structures. This is really a time of bringing down the old structures that we have built our lives upon, and we can be doing that in ourselves. It's our own personal journey of excavation. This is a strong and powerful time for your personal journaling. As I mentioned in my social media posts last week, if you're not writing anything publicly at all, you have my complete empathy. This is a time to be going within. This is a time for that deep personal self-reflection and excavation. It's a time of bringing those hidden beliefs, those unconscious stories and narratives that we have carried in our bones, our blood, our DNA, our behaviors, up to the surface to be seen and witnessed with compassion so that we can heal and integrate and ultimately release and restructure. Now, that was our invitation from the Nine of Swords last week. And I want to say that I've really, really felt that invitation this week has been very, very strong for me. Since the last video I made last week, and I was talking about this invitation of the Nine of Swords to witness and excavate and heal and release and restructure those old narratives that our lives have been built upon. That has been showing up for me in very strong and clear and profound and personal ways. Let me tell you a few things that the ways that that's been showing up for me, and you might begin to recognize in yourself that some of the ways that this invitation towards excavation and restructuring of those deep level, foundational level narratives has been showing up for you in your life as well, perhaps. And we can always connect with this level of our healing through journaling. I really, really do recommend that, to meet yourself on the page and to be the compassionate witness to who you are and what is true for you and what has been unconsciously playing out through you. Working onto the page with your hand is a really powerful physical way to actually, first of all, we bring those unconscious beliefs and behavior patterns, stories, narratives, self-talk, phrases, stories that we've told ourselves and inherited. We bring those to the surface to be witnessed. They come more into our consciousness as we write them on the page. We bring them to the surface to be witnessed, and we help to release them from our bodies as we put them down onto the page. We actually are helping, in my opinion and through my experience, we are helping to release those stories from our bodies when we put them down on the page and we write them out. And that might take several versions, several iterations, several weeks, several months. We might be coming back to this again and again, but it does shift over time. Those patterns can leave our bodies as we put them onto the page, or we can integrate them in a more healthy way as we become the compassionate witness to what we have been believing and perpetuating and creating in our own lives. Now, okay, so some of the ways this has been showing up for me is that after I made my last video, I went to see a healer, somebody who works with frequency bioresonance healing. Really interesting kind of technological approach, but it's a frequency-based approach where frequencies that are out of alignment in the body are picked up and then they're brought back into alignment through creating resonance that brings them back into alignment in the physical body. The healer I went to see also works with homeopathy and dowsing. She dowses for the underlying causes of the issues that are showing up. So had this kind of like three-layered, multi-layered kind of healing process that I'm working through at the moment. So beginning with the frequency healing, and then dowsing to come towards the underlying causes, and the homeopathy to continue to work on realigning where my frequency is out of balance and where those issues are showing up for me. And the outcome of that at this moment is that I'm taking homeopathic treatment for something, an issue that's shown up in my gums, with my gums, which is to do with partly having metal retainer in my mouth, which I'd like to have removed, and also very much what I'm working with homeopathically and on a frequency level is the sensation of depression. I'm working with homeopathically to the first thing that the homeopathy and the frequency healing has done for me, certainly in the first few days and still now after the treatment, has been to bring those sensations more to the surface so that I can feel them, so that I can witness them, so that I can see and feel in my body those sensations that I have been unaware of, unconscious about, and playing out through my unconsciousness in ways that I wasn't fully aware of. So that one of the first things that the homeopathy has done is brought those physical and mental and emotional sensations to the surface in my life, so that I can feel that on a physical and emotional level, and I can journal with that on the page, and I can feel that in my body. I can move my body to move it through my body. There's lots of different things I can do with that, but the first part of the healing is when it feels already worse, because these symptoms are coming more to the surface and I'm more aware of them. I'm the witness to them. So holding that as a level of shifting the foundational frequency is something that I'm working with this week. And that has been diving deeper, and a couple of books. I've been replenishing my bookshelves this week. And a few books have come towards me to take me further into this foundational healing practice, especially from the perspective of the narratives and the stories and the words that I hold in my body, and the frequency that I hold through those words. So was able to grab a copy of Louise L. Hay's You Can Heal Your Life off of the bookshelf recently. And it's a book that I've always been aware of but never actually read, and so dipped into that and found really profoundly right from the first page, these physical and emotional symptoms that I'm experiencing start with a narrative cause. They start with a line of words, a phrase, an affirmation, a language that I have had encoded, and I have encoded and perpetuated in my body unconsciously and continued to act from. Now, excuse me, I know that, and yet coming back to the foundations of that, coming back to the basics of that is profound and healing and life-changing for me. And equally this week I was gifted, or lent actually, lent a copy of a book by a friend that I'm working with at the moment, who's writing her book. And again, this is a concept that I'm very much aware of, but had not taken the time to read the foundations. So I've been lent a copy of Ho'oponopono, a tiny little book, small book, which I'll show you. I'm going to read from in today's session. Small book, Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian forgiveness ritual as the key to your life's fulfillment. Now, I first became aware of Ho'oponopono when my good friend Giles Bryant wrote a beautiful song about it. And this would have been, I think, 2009, 2010. I've been aware of the phrase and its healing power for a long time. I remember Giles, I was visiting him one day and we were out in his yurt and he played the song. There was a couple of us there. We were doing a mini well-being retreat, and he played the song to us on his guitar, and I was just in floods of tears. The power of the healing power of that mantra, the Hawaiian mantra Ho'oponopono, with its English translations, which I take from the order that I learned it through Giles's song, which is I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. There is immense power in that prayer. And I'm going to read from that book in today's session, maybe in a minute. But to come back to the basics, when I have started now to really practice the Ho'oponopono practice, it's taking me back to the real deep foundations, the deep foundational healing, the deep foundational restructuring of the narratives in my life that I have held in my body and that I have acted from and acted out every day through my life. So this invitation from the Nine of Swords last week to really witness and excavate and heal and transform and transmute and recreate and co-create the narrative structures that our lives are built upon has been gifted to me and playing out through me and for me in very deeply profound ways, which have brought me back to, are bringing me back to a truer resonance with myself, a truer connection and alignment with what it is that I really want and what it is that I really need. And that understanding that what I desire is what I need, and that the longer I keep putting that off, the more damage, the more harm I do to myself, the further away from my own alignment I move on a trajectory that is not the way, that doesn't nourish me or serve me or feel right for me, and doesn't really help me to nourish and serve and support others. Because I'm, the more I suppress my needs, my feelings, my reality, my truth, my desires, the more I'm actually veering away from my true reality and my unique purpose here. And some of you may recognize your own situations in the things that I'm saying. So I want to mix it up a bit and read from the Ho'oponopono book now. And what I want to say about that is how much excavation work actually it's required of me to be in a place where I feel like I can read this book to you. What I think I do when I'm learning new forms and when I'm learning new skills is I immerse myself in the world that I'm learning from. I learn through my body. I experience through doing and through feeling the resonance of how it feels to do what I'm doing. So when I was at university doing my PhD, I learned a lot about cultural appropriation and colonial oppression, which I completely do not want to disregard. But one thing that I felt was out of alignment with my understanding at the time of cultural appropriation and colonial oppression was that there didn't seem to be room in that narrative for genuine spiritual connection and genuine spiritual oneness, togetherness, that we can have a genuinely profound spiritual connection with a practice that comes from another culture. And that when we can acknowledge the practice that comes from another culture, and when we can acknowledge how that practice has come to us, I think it's okay. I've celebrated Beltane today at the start of today's video, and I want to share that with everyone who feels that same energy. And yet I don't want to be limited to only being able to take from the spiritual traditions that are rooted in this land. Now, those are the spiritual traditions that I feel much more closely connected with through my own feet on the earth. And yet there is wisdom in this globally connected society. There is wisdom that we can share and that we can practice to support ourselves and to support each other, that may come from other lands. And that I do believe if we have a genuine resonance and respect for those cultures and traditions, then there's a different energy in the way that we come to share them and speak about them and honor them and embody them and integrate them in our own lives and hearts and practices. So I'm going to read a little bit of this book from Ho'oponopono, and I will say this was published in 2012 originally, or even actually published in 2011 initially, and then translated into English in 2012. And even since then, I do think we've done a lot in the spiritual community. Parts of the spiritual community have certainly done a lot of work already to work with acknowledging not only cultural appropriation, but also some of the more harmful assumptions of what it means to just change your narrative and then you can change your world. Whilst I'm experiencing that as truth, I'm also experiencing and acknowledging that there are structural layers to what we have created and co-created and inherited and received and have been imposed upon us collectively, born from some of the traditions and institutions that we have been living with, patriarchy, capitalism, colonialism specifically, that have not only implanted those narratives and upheld them by violent means, and have caused harm and have caused genuine violence, distress, and inequality in the systems that we live in and in our own physical lived existences. And there has to be room to acknowledge both of those realities and to, from my perspective, begin to move towards healing and integration with a wider acknowledgement and acceptance of, or at least acknowledgement and witnessing and calling out of the violence and the harm that have been done and that have created and imprinted and perpetuated those narratives that we are in the process of undoing in ourselves and restructuring for the collective. So that's my little bit about the book itself. I want to read a little bit from it for you now, because I found this part really exciting, for reasons which I'll share with you. Okay, so Ho'o means to make, and Pono is translated right or correct. It follows that Pono would be rightly right, and so Ho'oponopono quite simply represents to make rightly right. To make anything rightly right means to join oneself again with one's higher self and the source of all being. To be in one's own center, returned to harmony and balanced once again, so that one is able to realign the environment and reshape reality. To make rightly right means undertaking, after veering off course, to bring oneself back onto the right road, becoming sound in body and spirit, and achieving happiness and well-being. Ho'oponopono means a return to the divine plan and is also described as a path to perfection. Now, in so many ways, that foundational underpinning of what Ho'oponopono is and what it means is very much in alignment with what I've been describing as the invitation that we received from Nine of Swords to witness and to excavate and to transmute the underlying foundational frequencies of beliefs, words, structures, language that have veered us off course and taken us away from the direction of our divine path, our divine purpose. That is very much how I feel the Ho'oponopono working in me energetically at the moment as I'm using the practice. And I want to mention some things that I find really exciting in relation to writing and the magic of writing as a concept. and language and words, and vibration and frequency, which is the underlying structure of writing and language and words. Words are sound, they are frequency, they are vibration, they are rhythm. They help us to paint and create the sacred geometry of our world, and they shape the structures that we build and create and live in, including our own physical bodies and the world around us. It says ho'o means to make. Now, I'm really interested in that concept because the root of the root of the word poetry, the Greek root of the word poetry, poiesis, means to make. Poiesis is a form of performance. It's a form of performance, performative, as in doing in the world, taking action, participating in the co-creation of the world through language, through words, through vibration, through frequency, through rhythm, through structure, through writing, through speaking. Poetry at its root form is ritual. It is performance. It is to participate in the world through language. It is to make, as is this, the root word of this mantra, ho'o, is to make. It is to, as it says here, reshape reality. It says, so that one is able to realign the environment and reshape reality. That is the power of words and language. And I can't convey to you how serious I am about this. I did my PhD on it. That's the power of language. That's the power of the word. That's the power of sound and rhythm and frequency and vibration and structure. And it doesn't only change the world, it makes the world we already see. When something is off or out of alignment in our world, we can find that through the beliefs, the narratives, the words that we have carried and perpetuated and co-created in ourselves. That is what Ho'oponopono teaches us, and that is what I learned and practiced in poetry for my PhD. The world is shaped by words, by what we believe, by what we inherit, by what we co-create. When the narrative is off, because it has been controlled, it has been dominated, it has been limited, it has been we've been cut off from, as I mentioned right at the beginning, right at the top of the video, nature's abundance, the true reality of ourselves and our connection, our infinite connection with the source of all life and wealth and beauty and abundance and sensuality that we can feel and experience right now at Beltane. The lies and the narratives have disconnected us from that. They've sold us the lie of separation from ourselves, from each other, from the world, from the earth. And we have carried those narratives in our bones, in our bodies, in our blood, often without realizing it. But those are the narratives that have been shaping the world we have lived in for so many generations. And now, more powerfully than ever, we have the opportunity to reshape our world, and we can do that through language. We can do that through writing. We can do that through the way that we engage with words. We can do that in our journaling. We can do that when we meet ourselves on the page and when we witness the unconscious stories that we have been playing out, and we bring them out of our body through our hands onto the page, and we witness them and integrate them and heal them and let them go. So whether we are writing publicly or whether we are writing for our own self-development and transformation, we can be doing the work of shifting the overall frequency and vibration, not only of ourselves, but of the whole. We are all connected, and what we do for ourselves, we do for the whole. So that's really my invitation for you this week. We're moving towards another big eclipse. We've got the Scorpio eclipse with the full moon with the Scorpio eclipse right on that Beltane and Samhain axis. We're in square to Pluto, which has gone retrograde. We're reactivating that point of the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius that came in on the winter solstice in 2020. We're at the halfway point between this life-changing and radical astrology that started in 2020 and moves through to 2026. We're halfway through. Where are you now? Where can you meet yourself? What are the narratives that you are ready to release? And how do you want to move forward from here? These are big questions. And woo, the card that's just come up to support us. I'm using the Erotic Tarot this week in honor of Beltane. I wish you could see that more clearly. But woo, there we go a little bit. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the card that has come for us is the Page of Candles. So there we have a beautiful erotic scene with 3 participants who are not all strictly gender binaried. And we have the energy of the Page of Wands. Might have said swords a minute ago. Anyway, it says candles there. We've got the energy of the Page of Candles. That is about earthing our fire. That's about earthing our creative fire and bringing our creative energy to the ground. Now, this is the shift from Aries to Taurus. This is what we've been moving through in this eclipse cycle, bringing in the inspiration, the creative fire, the vision. What is our soul's vision? Are we aligned with our soul's purpose? And how can we now begin to bring that into solid form through our creative work in the world? Okay. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Beltane blessings to you all, and happy Samhain if you are in the Southern Hemisphere. Please stay open to what messages want to come through you right now, to what is being shown to you in terms of your own alignment, your own path, what you're ready to let go of, where you're going to move forward from here. And journal, be with yourself, meet yourself on the page, take this time to reflect and to release what is no longer serving you or the collective. Thank you so much, everyone. Beltane blessings and sending you so much love. If you would like to connect, I'm always available on Facebook and Instagram at Writing Thriving, and I would love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your responses, how this eclipse season energy has been showing up for you, how the invitation of the 9 of Swords has come through for you in your life, and what you are experiencing with these energies and with your own visionary writing. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you next time.